Hello. In this video I'm going to show you how we can plot points using polar coordinates. Let's begin. Hello. Here's a sheet of polar graph paper. And what you'll notice, it looks quite different than our regular XY coordinate plane. So here we have at the very center, it's called the pole, right here at the very center. And then over here, where we typically have the x-axis, this is our polar axis. And the way that we graph a point is we're going to graph our point in terms of r and theta instead of x and y. It's going to be r and theta. And r is the distance that the point is from the center right here, from the pole. So you might think of it as the radius, because these look like little circles. So all of these will have an r of 1. These have an r of 2, and an r of 3, etc. And then when the angle is going to be the angle that's formed from the ray that goes through the pole, and let's say like right here, this angle is 30 degrees. So if I had a point here, let's say I draw this point right here, then this would have the coordinates of r is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be 4, and it's 30 degrees. 30 degrees. Okay, we can measure the angle in either radians or degrees. For demonstration purposes, I'm just going to use degrees. Okay, so that's how we would graph the point for 30 in the polar coordinates. Now let's say I wanted to graph the point for negative 30. Well, in order to graph, so I'm going to be out on the same radius, or the same r, but negative 30, remember when you're graphing angles, this starts here, this is 0 degrees, and negative is going in the clockwise direction. So here, this is 30 degrees. So the point for negative 30, the point for negative 30 degrees would be, counting out 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, would be right here. It's the point for negative 30. Now let's say I wanted to, this is what's going to be a little bit different when we think of this as being r being the distance, is we can have a negative distance. That means direction. So if I was going to graph the point negative 4, 30, this is the point 4, 30. But if I wanted negative 4, then on this 30 degree ray, I'm going to go in the opposite direction 4. So I would come over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I would be right there. This is the has the polar coordinates of negative 4, 30. So what I did is I went to the 30 degrees, and then I went in the opposite direction. That's what the negative tells you. Go in the opposite direction. Okay, and then I can show you how we graph negative 30 degrees and negative 4, or negative 4, negative 30. So here and you probably can already guess where it's going to be. If I'm going to go do the angle first, it's a little strange, but go negative 30, so I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to go 4 in the opposite direction. Instead of going positive 4, I'm going to go negative 4, so the opposite direction would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and here would be the point negative 4, negative 30 degrees. So that's how we can graph. You can graph, I chose large numbers for an example. You can have larger angles. I chose small numbers. You can have large angles. It doesn't matter what the angle is. You just that tells you which direction you're going to go, the size of the angle, and then the R, think of it as the radius of the circle. That's the distance from the center right here, which is called the pole. This is the pole, and this is your polar axis. And that's how we can plot points on the polar coordinate plane, or the polar plane. Thank you. Okay, here I have another sheet of polar graph paper. And what I did is I labeled some of the angles, the 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, etc. And this might seem very much like the unit circle when you're labeling the angles, okay? Because those are just common angles that we work with. But I want to show you something I think is pretty cool when we graph on the polar coordinates. And that's because the points can be labeled in more than one way. So let's say I have the point, I'm going to look at the point 360, 60 degrees. The point is 3 and it's 60 degrees. So if I'm looking at this point, I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3 along the 60 degree angle mark. So it's 60 degrees from zero here, from the polar axis, and so I'm going to go out 3. I think of it as these are concentric circles, radius is 1, 2, 3. So this point right here, I want to see how else can that be labeled? How else can we get to that point? Okay, so one way we can get there is we can go to the 240 degrees, and we can go this way to 240 degrees and go back 3. So we can go, and we're going to label that. Remember, we label the R first. So this could be the point over here. I can get there by going all the way around to 240. So it's going to be 240 degrees and -3. So I can go back 3. So I come over to here, and instead of coming out 3, from here I go back 3. 1, 2, 3. So it can be -3 and 240 degrees. Another way I can get that is by going, get to here, I can go around the circle clockwise. I can go all the way around, and when I'm going clockwise, then this isn't going to be 60 degrees, because when I go this way, this is -30, -60, and when I go all around this way, it's going to come out to be the angle is -300 degrees, and then it's still going to be +3, because I go clockwise. Remember that when we go clockwise on the angles, it's negative. So I'm going -300 and then going out 3. Another way I can get it is by going clockwise to here and going back 3. So when I do that, this is going to be -90, and then 30 more degrees is -120 degrees. And -3. So there's actually 4 different ways that we can label every point, or each of the points that are on the polar coordinate plane. Because we have 2 where R is positive, 2 where R is negative, 2 where the angle is positive, and 2 where the angle is negative. Because we can go clockwise 2 different ways, and we can go counterclockwise 2 different ways. Okay, so I think that's pretty neat that we can label the points in a variety of ways, and that's just going around the circle once. You could count it where we're going, basically an infinite number of times that we're going to be going around the circle, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, I hope you found this interesting. Thank you.